You know that feeling when you get really excited about something, it promises the world, only to find out it's, well, kind of empty? I think we've all been there. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain on why that happens and what's really going on. Okay, so picture this. There's this beautifully wrapped gift right in front of you. It's glittering, it's vibrant, maybe you even see some fireworks popping off behind it. It's just humming with potential, right? That is the promise. You see it everywhere. The flashy sales pitch, the grand political speech, that life-changing opportunity that just seems a little too good to be true. It's all designed to grab our imagination, to grab our hope. And then you open the box. And inside, no treasure, no magic key, just a plain, simple wooden spoon. You feel that immediate letdown, right? That huge gap between the dazzling promise and the, well, boring reality. That's what we're digging into today. It's that moment when all the fireworks just fizzle out. All right, so there's actually a word for this, this gap between all the impressive flair and the total lack of substance. Let's put a name to this feeling, shall we? That word is bombast. Basically, it's any speech or writing that's meant to sound super important and impressive. But in the end, it's just hollow. It's all style, zero substance. Think of it as loud and grand, but when you really lean in and look closer, there's just nothing there. It's the exact language of that glittering box we were just talking about. There's this great quote that just nails this idea perfectly. A loud river can hide a shallow bottom. Think about that. A roaring river, it sounds so powerful, so deep, right? But all that noise can totally distract you from the fact that it might only be a few inches deep. It's a great reminder that sometimes the real substance, the actual depth, it's a whole lot quieter. Okay, so if bombast is so empty, why do we keep falling for it? I mean, why is the sound of that loud, shallow river so appealing to us? Well, the answer really gets into our own psychology. It's all tied up in our hopes, in our dreams. And this is a really important question to ask. Why are we sometimes more drawn to the big talk than the real substance? And listen, this isn't about being naive or, foolish. There's a really powerful emotional current that pulls us toward these grand promises, and understanding that pull is absolutely key. This really breaks down the whole journey perfectly. So look at step 1. It starts with us. We all have these big dreams for our future, right? But step 2, the actual path to get there feels super unclear. It's foggy, it's uncertain. And then, bam, step 3, someone shows up. They've got a megaphone, they've got a map, and they claim they know the secret way. And in that moment, what happens? We're enchanted. We're not really buying their product or their policy, we're buying the hope that they're selling. And really, this is the most crucial part. Deep down, most of the time, we aren't looking for a detailed 5-point plan with spreadsheets and footnotes. No, we're looking for validation. We just want someone to look us right in the eye and tell us with total confidence that our dream isn't some crazy fantasy, that it's actually possible, and that they know the way. That is such a powerful and deeply human need. But here's the flip side. That very human, very real need for hope, it can also be a major vulnerability. It kind of opens the door for people who don't share our sincerity. People who look at our dreams and don't see something to be realized, but something to be, monetized. So let's break this down. It's hope versus greed. On one side, you've got our hope. It's this pure, simple desire to know that something better is possible. But on the other side, you have their gain. They're not selling a path. They're preying on the hopeful. They're using the language of our own dreams to get what they want, whether that's financial gain or power or influence. It's a totally cynical transaction, just disguised to look like a shared journey. And, the source material we're looking at has a pretty sobering take on this. This whole dynamic, it's not some rare thing. It's a fundamental part of how the world works. As long as greed exists, there will always be people who weaponize hope. It creates this food chain where the hopeful can become the prey. That's a really tough reality to swallow, I know, but it's so important to recognize it. So where does all this leave us? Are we supposed to just become cynical about everything? No, not at all. It just means we have to get better at looking beyond the initial fireworks. We need to learn how to see what's really lying underneath all that flash. Because the world is just full of these glittering boxes. I mean, they're everywhere. You see them in advertising, in politics, all over our social media feeds, in self-help seminars, everywhere. They're all making promises of easy success, instant happiness, simple fixes for really complex problems. And just recognizing them for what they are, these glittering, often empty boxes, that is the first and honestly the most crucial step. And that really brings us to the final and maybe the most important question. How do we learn to look for the spoon? Because it's not about trying to avoid all the boxes completely. That's impossible. It's about developing the wisdom to actually look inside them. So how do we train ourselves to value what's simple, what's useful, what's real, the wooden spoon? Well, it often starts by just asking different questions. Not just, hey, what does this promise me? But, okay, where's the evidence? Not just staring at the fireworks, but checking to see if anything solid is left when they fade. Learning to look for the spoon, yeah, that might just be the most valuable skill we can have.